Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Tuesday, January 12th, 2016. Ra here in the Lynn-Life, Black Wolf in the Jamie Body Mind, other teammates in other dimensions, most of us in the subatomic, and most of us in the physical dimension. For the moment, our Oversoul body snatchers are not present. It's a blessed relief. We're going to use the foundational intention to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions to manifest the divine plan. We know the clock is ticking on that collective restart that wiser minds above have discerned is necessary. The deadline for that is in little more than a year. They hate that.
They
absolutely hate that.
Really do.
It's still true. It's still true. The clock is ticking on the deadline that wiser minds above have assigned to us. By January 17th, 2017, we are to have provided a collective restart for the all that is. This is why those Oversouls have left. We have pointed out to them that not much is happening in Thing 2, and they can take over that project of Thing 2, which is one humanoid on a backwater planet in an average universe. These Oversouls have gone to Thing 2 to see if they can get Thing 2 to live her soul plan, fulfill her destiny, do what is hers to do, and nothing else. So help me God. This is what we are to do for the all that is. Manifest the divine plan by January 17th, 2017. Our work here continues on in the Search for Truth community, our assignments being by January 16th, 2016, to here in Search for Truth Pillar, dig down through the subatomic layers to truth that will propel all of us forward on our soul plans, creating lives of joy and worlds that work. And the assignment by January 16th, 2016 in Thing 1 is to, I believe it is to empty the fantasy land of soul presence, allow them to move through Thing 1 into and through that portal of peace. With that, the videoed portions of today's efforts begin. The thoughts are all there. They don't like the thoughts.
No.
They don't like the reality. That is the reality. I see how this is for all of us. We get these assignments, and the assignments seem impossible. And so what we all do is adjust the assignments, which isn't actually occurring. That's a fantasy that we're having. We are having a little fantasy there that the assignment is being adjusted by wiser minds above when it isn't. The assignments are still there. These Oversouls are doing it. Supply Lab was doing it. I do it. You do it. We all do it. But when we as a community work together and watch each other, we can help each other see that we are conveniently ignoring that the assignment itself is unchanged and make a different choice that actually works better. Probably we should seize the brief moment when we don't have Oversoul body snatchers here and focus on Thing 1's work, Thing 1's efforts, and help Betty Jean, who has gone over there to make something happen.
That's true.
It seems to me as though Betty Jean is going about this assignment of gathering together those little pockets of sentience that are still left in what we're referring to as fantasy land.
That's true.
That she's going about it much as Kosa has been going about the assignments in what we're referring to as machine zone.
Yes,
Just
that's true.
going from little town to little town, although in this case, these seem to be cloistered spiritual communities of sorts who had come to the conclusion that Fantasyland as a whole was crazy, and they did not want to be a part of that mainstream society, and they've formed little, how it looks to me is like walled towns.
Yeah.
But it's like clusters of Mormons in the mountains in Utah.
It's true, or monasteries in the mountains of Tibet.
There actually do seem to be
not very many.
Very few that feel like Buddhist monasteries in the Himalayas. Very small, one or two people here and there. The big the big bulk of what's left seems to be things like they have Mormons and
That's
Jehovah's
true.
Witnesses. What do I know? I know that the Mormon Church talks about the end game being imminent.
That's true.
I know that Jehovah's Witnesses also talk about the end game being imminent.
That's true.
That's right. That might mean that these communities are agreeing that a collective restart is necessary. It's possible.
That is true.
It's possible they have watched what occurred when 6.5 million souls who had been previously exempted from the cycles of incarnation came into physical lives, roughly 2 or 3, depending on how you count, physical lives.
That's true.
And rather than helping those lives fulfill their destinies, live their soul plans, do what's theirs to do and nothing else, they viewed those presences as kind of like dark entities.
That's
and
true.
They clustered up above like soap bubbles and built lead walls and created fantasy lands for themselves.
That's true.
And these groups seem to acknowledge the reality that a collective restart is necessary, and they seem to be basing it on what happened when those souls immigrated from spirit world into things 1 and 2.
What do they mean by what happened?
That all the spirit world presences just built a fantasy land, like an expatriate fantasy land at the top, that they didn't dive in and help with the work.
That's true.
It's possible these presences are some of the ones who did, at the very start, try to get something going. Actually, they
true.
came from the Search for Truth community. It's possible these were the roughly 500 souls that came from the Search for Truth community originally into the project.
That's true.
Back when we thought, oh, this assignment of getting these humanoid presences to live their soul plans will take us until about,
Lunch.
10 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, I thought 10 a.m. You thought lunch.
That's true.
You were more realistic than I was, and that was how many months ago? 4, 5, 6 months ago? So what do I know? I know that as of this moment, the responsibility for the project known as Thing 1 seems to have been transferred on paper to that group of Oversouls who have come in with the same attitude that we had 6 months ago of, oh, this will be done by 10 a.m. or noon.
But the responsibility of Thing 2 was transferred to the Oversouls.
That's what I meant. What did I say?
I said Thing 1.
Incorrect. Let's correct that.
That's true.
Wow. They want to steal Thing 1.
Oh, yeah.
That is so
Cheaters.
low. That is so
Yeah.
low. No, it's not Thing 1. The responsibility for Thing 2 has been transferred to you. Thing 2.
That's true.
Thing 2. Thing 2 is
That's
your
true.
responsibility. The paperwork for Thing 2 is transferred to you. Thing 2.
You dirty, rotten cheaters.
The lack of integrity is really appalling. Are you able to see it? Phil can see it.
Phil can see it.
And the student can see it. Very
makes him very sad.
Very sad. And these other Oversoul presences who have started to work here in the Search for Truth community are
Can see
all
it.
nodding.
That's true,
I'm asking
nodding.
if there's any one of them who's present who can't see it. And
I don't feel
I feel
any
only
hands.
nodding heads, no
Yes.
hands and no shaking heads. A wood stork just flew overhead. A wood stork. A solitary wood stork. That's so sad. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, that's a message about flock presences who are down to single presences. All right, let's call all the single presences toward the central axis in Thing 1. All the solo
Presences.
seekers who are up in that top Fantasyland place come
true.
to the central axis. And these might be the ones that look like Tibetans in caves in the Himalayas.
That could
Come
be
on,
all
everybody
the solo
together,
seekers.
all the solo
Central axis of
seekers.
thing one.
Betty Jean, your work is to stay right here at the central axis of Thing One and call them to you. Call them to you in a variety of ways. A vibrational call, just as we call for the right person
people. That's
for any
true.
particular job. Just as we, for example, pulled the Guantanamo Bay, the Nature Realms prisons, toward the central axis, we did that with cables on the far side.
That's true.
There are many different tools and techniques that you can use to draw the presences to you, but the key point is that you yourself must be on the central axis.
That's true.
And you yourself must be running cables as you direct the efforts. Now you can run them exceedingly slowly.
And very thin cables.
Very thin cables, but to not be running cables means that you would not be leading by example.
That's true.
And so all leaders of all projects on all levels must find the central spot for their level and project and plant themselves on a cable running station right there and very slowly and sustainably run very long, thin cables while they're directing the efforts.
That's
and
true.
therefore, by definition, you cannot be moving from village to village and community to community. And I see now that Kosa was making this mistake,
I do.
and we didn't notice that it was a mistake.
That's true.
And that's why those efforts stalled out. I get it now. Kosa, can you see this?
Yes.
She's ditching her old plan
That's true.
and jumping on it. This is one thing that's so great about Kosa. She doesn't argue. She
That's
sees
true.
things right away.
Quick to let go of what doesn't work.
Very quick. All right, so to summarize, Oversoul presences, your project is Thing 2.
That's true.
You can use whatever methods you want to use. We're not telling you what to do. Responsibility shifts are for periods of time, for certain windows of opportunity. You have a window of opportunity to do whatever it is you're going to do to get Thing 2 to live her soul plan, creating a life of joy and a world that works.
That's true.
Someone is literally asking me how long their window of opportunity is. Listen, friend, get your own answers. Get your own answers. You're not a member of the Search for Truth team.
That's true.
Get your own answers. You're a member of the Thing 2 team.
That's true.
Get your answers directly. If you want to be a member of the Search for Truth team, the approach tunnel is down there. The front door is always open. Come in the front door and we'll tell you what to do.
That's true.
We'll greet you with a broom and say, here's your broom. Start sweeping. All the rest will follow. Shave your head.
Same way we greet everybody.
Same way we greet everybody, and the same way we
are all
ourselves
greeted.
act
That's
when
true.
we are reassigned. We come in the front door and try again. Let's draw in our aspects of selves tighter to us, just making a tighter community, a community of Black Wolf, a community of Ra, a community of Kosa, etc. Drawing ourselves past, present, and future toward us so that we can, just as the cables are instructed to find presences they feel compatible with and merge, that opportunity is in front of all of us to find presences we feel compatible with and merge. But to the consciousness who is what I would think of as the main presence of Black Wolf, the main presence of Ra, the main presence of Kosa, etc.,
That's true.
to be at the central point running cables and inviting other aspects of self to join in. But here's what we're doing. We're here running cables while we help everybody else discern what it is they're supposed to be doing and keep the space clear of presences who wish to be hazards on the course. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel presences reaching in and drawing up channels.
That's true.
Feels good. Well, let's reach down and draw up channels from the smaller levels. Just reach right down through that open pit, down an opening down, and just draw up channels. Have the intention to draw up channels. To do for them what we would want to be done for us.
That's true.
And we can suggest to these smaller aspects of self and deeper subatomic levels that they too can reach down and raise up the channels of smaller aspects of self in deeper subatomic levels compared to where they are. Turn around and help someone.
That's true.